I forgot where I was at because my brother came. Okay, but hold on. So I don't remember where I was at, but her family is still, I was talking about her family, I think. And her family is kind of like really supportive of her and her decisions, and they just want her to be the happiest, but she doesn't seem to accept that, and she seems to like want everybody to be against her. And like, okay, my cat is like playing right now, so, and basically it's like she wants to be depressed when it's literally like fucking hell to be depressed, and like nobody should want to be depressed. And she thinks depression is just being sad, but it's really more than that. And I really don't appreciate her. And like, she has this like, okay, one thing about her, it's like whenever I'm feeling like quote unquote depressed and like actually have emotions, she asks me, oh, what's wrong? And then like I say what's wrong, and then she just pretends that she didn't hear what I said, and like I don't exist for the rest of the day unless if I what she wants me to be. And it's like, can my cat shut up? Okay. And it's like whenever I'm sad, she doesn't even care. And whenever she's sad, suddenly the world is ending. Like, yeah, and she starts complaining about her family sometimes, too. And, like, she complains about her family, and, like, she says that her family yells at her, but really, literally, the only time I see her family yelling at her is when she does something, like, bad, and that's called discipline, not abuse or anything. And basically, the reason I made this video is to show this attention horse comics she made with her OC that's supposed to be her, and it's like a furry, and her cousin, I think, that for some reason she ships herself with. She shipped her OC and her cousin, I think that's how it works. It's kind of like incest, but it's only because like she has this YouTube and like, yeah, but here's a comic. OMG, Lily, also, by the way, the OC is named Lily. And she says, often I'm upset, but I hold it in. And I think that was, like, a reference to the song Cut My Hair by Cave Town. Oh, or This Is Home, I mean. Not Cutting My Hair, that's the Monica remix. I didn't mean to. It's alright. You sure? You sure? Pat. Yeah. And basically, like, this guy, I don't know his name. Let's just call him Clyde. He scratched Lily out of anger. I have a lot more than what you just done. Can I see your arm? And this is the part that gets me the most, where she's romanticizing self-harm. And it's fucking not okay. It's never okay to romanticize self-harm. It's a real problem. And if she actually cuts herself, which I advise you she doesn't, she would, she can trust me. Like, okay, I support her, but I don't support her in certain actions, if you know what I mean. And if she actually cut herself, the school uniform is, like, short sleeve, so I would see it. And I would, like, ask her about it, and if she's not comfortable about talking about it, I'd tell her, okay, but if you ever need to talk about anything, you can always talk to me. I am always going to be there for you. And if you need advice from a person who has, like, a lot of experience, talk to me. But don't hide it in, and just get help if you're self-harming and stuff. And if she was, like, telling me about it, then, yeah, I'd help her. But the thing is, she's romanticizing it in this way, like, in the comic, which I'll show you soon. And she doesn't actually cut herself, she does it for attention. And I'll make a part 2 if my brother's coming. And, okay, here's the part. And it's like she's using self-harm, too, as an excuse to be quirky and edgy and unique. Frick, he'll see my cuts. What do I do? Gonna have to... And she goes, Lily, I hate myself. Why? I plan on ending my life on Friday. I can't take the pain of losing my sister and parents. Okay, I think this is part of the story, but I think the character Lily is supposed to represent her, but she didn't actually lose her family. I guess it's just part of a story. It's like her self-insert but into a story, I guess. Okay? Just for clarity. Lily, you're not the only one who has lost their parents. I know I didn't lose my sister, but I still know how you feel. Please don't do this. I don't want to lose you. I love you. Nobody's gonna do that with your self-harm. They're not gonna be like that. They're not gonna fucking kiss your cuts or whatever and say, oh my god, I love you. Please don't do this. No, they're gonna be... It depends on the person. If they don't have experience with this type of stuff, that they know what to say when somebody self-harms like that. And I don't know about this Clyde person that I'm starting to call Clyde, but yeah. And nobody would really say I love you like that. Like, that's the worst time to say. Like, depends who the person is, that might be the worst time to say it. Turn the page. Wait, what? Nani? Bush bush. You didn't hear that, right? And that's the end of it. But overall, she's been a shitty friend to me. And like, honestly, she even made one of my best friends that are like really nice to me make them like think that let's call her let's think of a South Park character. Wendy, my best friend Wendy, she made her feel like a shitty person. Like, she made Wendy, okay, so this friend I'm talking about, the one I'm complaining about, the one that's like made this comic, I'm gonna call her Bebe. And Bebe made Wendy think that she was like a shitty person. And Wendy was actually trying to help Bebe. And it's like, me and Wendy was like trying to help her as much as we can whenever she's feeling down, and she just ignores our help. Like, I've done that before, but I've learned to just like be open to help and just realize that people are there for me. And I've been telling her all the time, like, all the things that like I've been told that made me feel better, and all the things that I've seen that help people with depression. Well, she doesn't really actually have depression, but, and like, she never seems to be open to help, even with the most sincere words. And like, it's just really shitty of her. And like, I get it myself, but like, this is not a way to be yourself. This is not okay. And like, another thing she does is she draws an arm, and she draws like cuts on it a lot. Like, look, like this picture. And look, so basically something happened a while back, like in May 20. It's in her little book that I actually kind of stole, because it was like, it was in my desk, and I actually confused it for one of my books basically, and it was like, I plan on giving it to her back, but realizing what I do now, I don't really think that's the thing. But still, on May 23rd, something was going on with like her and some other like friends, and like, it was going on with me too, how like she started replacing us with like other people, and like those other people do not actually help her like we do. Like, they don't give her actual help. Like, when she says like she's sad or something, when Bebe says she's sad, this other friend I have, he's not really the best friend, but let's just call him, let's see, let's call him, who's a shitty person in South Park, let's call him Kyle. And this other girl, let's call her, let's sing the South Park character, because I really like South Park, actually. I already have one day. I'm a thing for a while. Rebecca. She's kind of stupid, Rebecca. She acts stupid and stuff. And basically, like, Rebecca was pretending to cut herself. And, like, when Bebe started, like, crying for her. Yet when, like, I was, like, sincerely depressed and at, like, my worst stage, she didn't even give a shit. She didn't even give a fucking shit. And, like, then when Wendy, I think that was her name. I forgot the code words. Well, the friend I'm complaining about is now called, Bebe. And Bebe, oh yeah, it's Bebe. Okay, so Bebe, when I used to cut myself and I was at my worst stage, she didn't even give a shit. And when Rebecca was pretending to cut herself, she was crying over her and, like, she was being a great person to her. And I've known Bebe all, like, since, like, pre-kindergarten. No, since, like, the first day she came to our school. And she's never really actually been like that. And I talked to my friend about it, and, like, I talked to my friends about it. And they all said it was, like, hormonal changes, so it's, like, really common that she's acting moody and stuff. And honestly, where was I at? But yeah, Bebe really acts like a shitty person. And, like, another thing is, whenever the class gets yelled at, she pretends to be all triggered and stuff. And she says that yelling is her triggers, because it reminds her of her family. Yet her family barely yells at her, and I know this for a fact. Oh no, my phone is vibrating. And, like, I know that her family wouldn't yell at her just out of nowhere. Like, I know there's a thing called discipline that she needs to realize. And let's see. Whenever the class, like, starts talking and stuff, she pretends to be all triggered and stuff. Like, yes, family can yell at you a lot, but honestly, it's just discipline. And another thing was, like, basically me and this other friend, I have two friends, they're really nice to me, they're really great. Let's think of a South Park character I can call them as. Leslie and Henrietta, I think. Let's call her Henrietta. Let's think. Honestly, I'm really having, like, a block right now. Nellie. Leslie and Nellie. So, Leslie, Nellie, and me. There's one girl we don't like that we call her Caillou as a code word, so nobody finds out that we're actually talking about her. And she starts, like, okay, let me find that diary mention, because she mentioned that in, like, this book. Well, enjoy this ASMR. Also, she said this one thing about Bebe during the stage that we were talking to her about how she was, like, replacing, what was his name? I remember I had the code word for him. I think there's, like, Rebecca and I forgot the other person. Let's just call them, oh yeah, Rebecca and Kyle. How she was, like, replacing Rebecca and Kyle she was replacing us with Rebecca and Kyle. And Rebecca and Kyle just came into the school. and they don't really deserve her trust yet, because, like, there's a lot of things that she's, like, needs private that, like, I know, and she's telling them all this stuff, and, like, they're spreading rumors about her now because she told them, and because she trusted them, and like, me and my friend Wendy, we were talking about it, and, like, we decided to confront her, since, like, we can't always keep on sugarcoating things, and, like, she wrote it in her diary, and let me just find it. So, it's over. I lost my friend. Her name is Bebe. She says that she didn't want to be friends because she doesn't like me for talking to Kyle and Rebecca. I'm holding the tears in. I don't want to look like a little baby. I'm questioning why, or it's just that we were never friends. She is acting like my cousins. They say they like me, but they lied over and over and over and over. They're just the ones who hurt me. I have nobody. I can't handle this anymore. I think at this point, everyone is going to hate me. I don't feel safe or happy anywhere anymore. What can I do now? Every day, I tell her, okay, baby, you're my best friend, and I'll always be there for you. Even if you do the worst of the worst, I'll always be your friend, and I'll always forgive you. You're my best friend, and honestly, if you're going through some shit, then I will always be here that you can talk to. Even the things that you keep from the counselor, since there's a school counselor that she doesn't even need. And I'm like, even if you can trust your friends more than a counselor who writes down all the things you say and is literally putting you on like suicide watch. And I tell her every day that I'm there for her, and that I'll always keep things private, and I'll always be there for her, and I'll always be there for her to talk to, and that anything she can talk to is safe with me. And I tell her that she's my best friend, and whenever she feels like nobody's with her, I'm always there for her, and that I'm been through the fucking worst at this point, with shitty friends, shitty family, shitty everything, and I will understand. And she's acting like nobody has helped her, when every day me and Wendy help her. Every day me and Wendy are always there to talk to her. Every day. And every day Bebe is pretending that she has nobody, and that nobody is there for her, and that, oh my god, I'm so fucking done. And that every day Bebe has nobody, and that every day nobody ever tries to help her, and that every day the only answer is her fake cutting, which is literally just her just saying that she is that, and she never does. Honestly, as a person who has real cynical depression, if I were actually saying nobody was there for me, and nobody's there, and I'd say if I would ever like her, and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna cut myself, and I'd actually do it, and I'd honestly don't care anymore, and I'd honestly actually cut myself. But on her case, she actually cares, and she actually knows that she has people for them, and she actually knows that everybody is there for her. And she writes all this edgy stuff, my life is like a tree. As it dies, I feel depressed. Oh my god, fucking pity. And it's I know this is really long, but Bebe is just a shitty person. And and then she wrote about Wendy, since me and Wendy confronted her, telling her that you seem to be replacing us and stuff, since we're your friends. We just want what's best for you, and we think that Kyle and Rebecca really aren't good for you. And she wrote in her diary this: May 24th, 2018. I'm glad I'm not friends with Bebe anymore. She didn't want to be friends because I talked to certain people that she hate. Crazy. I can't believe I trusted her. And she can still trust her. And Wendy is actually a really forgiving person. And you can trust them a lot. And they just, she just really needs to consider other people too. Like, oh my god. She never considers other people too. Bebe, she's like, only wants people to care for her. She doesn't care about anybody else. She only cares about herself. And, oh, let's see what else. Also, one time I actually attempted suicide and I actually had to stay back, like, in the hospital for 2 weeks. And, like, for, like, a couple of days after, like, I left the hospital and I went back to school, she started asking me, like, she started sugarcoating depression and saying, like, how's your DWD? And I'm like, what? And she's like, dealing with depression. And I'm like, I'd rather not talk about it, since, like, as a person with depression, I'd rather not focus on, like, now, I'd rather not focus on negativity and stuff, and I'd rather just get better and look at positive things. Sorry about voice crack. And, like, her, she just wants to focus on depressing stuff, and she just always throws around the word depression like it's something that should be sugar-coated. And, like, she's always pretending that, like, she's this person that's, like, an emotional mess, when she's really just a shitty person. And she always does this thing where she jokes about suicide, and as, like, a person who's dealt with it, and I've been diagnosed with, like, PTSD from it, she knows that, and I keep telling her, please don't fucking joke about suicide. And she's always joking about it and pretending like, she's always making this finger gun, and she's like, oh no, is my forehead bleeding? My forehead is bleeding. I have a lot of blood. Hey, look, blood. Oh wait, is this actually... And I take Zoloft, which is an antidepressant, and she doesn't take antidepressants. She told me, and she made this, like, and she made this one drawing one time. It was like, I take my pills and I'm happy all the time. I asked her, wait, you take antidepressants? And she told me no. And I'm like, please don't use the code happy pills. That's actually just offensive and just literally a blatant fuck you to people with depression. And she's pretending like it's a good thing, like it's a good thing to have depression. Like, no, it's literally the feeling of being empty and, like, fucking at the edge, like, not that edge, but, you know, and being at, like, where you think nobody is there for you, and if you disappeared, nobody would be there for you. And if you vanished into thin air, nobody would even notice. That's what I've been through, and it's different for people who actually have it, unlike her. But, okay, here's the thing. So back in, like, 2015, it was, like, I had my edgy stage, like, what she's going through right now. So that's why I know she doesn't actually have depression. I used to draw pictures of, like, my OC hanging herself, and, like, always saying I was sad and all, and oh, pity. And, like, now, I know that she's actually, not actually depressed, because she does this. And, like, another thing is, like, let's think, something else can think about her. So I'm on the floor, so if you hear creaking, then, yeah. She's always, like, let's think, I've said everything about her. She's always giving me a blatant fuck you, basically. Like, whenever she jokes about depression and suicide, I'm like, yeah, dark humor comes to an extent. Like, and I use dark humor a lot, so I get, yeah, it's funny sometimes, but to an extent. Like, if you use dark humor, and you actually offend somebody, if you're joking about, like, suicide and depression, You know to stop if you have it yourself, because you know how it's like. But she, on the other hand, I tell her and she just continues. And it's like, yeah. By the way, I'm a boy, so if that's confusing, then sorry. That's me. And hold on. I'm gonna draw her like the actual baby from South Park. Here's a middle finger, and hold on, it's almost finished. So that's me. And that's her giving me a blatant fuck you, because that's literally what I go through from her. She's one of the worst ones I've had, actually. But I still forgive her every time. Every time she does the same shit.